done a number on the Miata this weekend. Had a long weekend and the weather was gorgeous, and have just had the itch lately. So it was kind of time, but also have a kind of a short window to work in. But I figured even if I put it away for the winter in pieces, that's totally okay, because I can be planning and doing some things over the over the winter, to be ready. But I already had the trunk stripped out. There's some more parts and pieces that need to come out for what I now kind of know is gonna happen. But the interior is pretty much stripped out. Got all the dashes out, what needs to come out anyways. Got the 4-gauge wire through the firewall. Did all that basically yesterday with Jason Stempion's help. Thank you, Jason. It was really nice to have him over helping out. Today I stripped out the back end of the car. Got a good look to see what room there might be for speakers. Did some other work yesterday that Jason helped with. That was really nice. He helped me building a bracket for the fuse under the hood. I finished up doing wiring under here. We discovered a little problem with the factory terminal while we were working on this, and that set us back. So I have some really nice battery terminals on order, and that's okay. They're going to be here Tuesday, and so the underhood wiring can be finished up. Upgraded the factory ground to the chassis that goes down underneath the battery, so I've had the battery in and out a couple of times today. I woke up, everything aches. I tell you what, I'm feeling my age at this point, but it's okay. It feels good to be doing something like this. Doing something like this again. So there's some work yet to do under the hood, but cleaned up some things under here. Got my little trickle charger. It's been mounted underneath the washer reservoir for quite a while, but finally got the plug tied up in a place where it's really accessible, so that when I store it for the winter, it's really easy to just plug it in now, rather than just having it dangling down underneath there where it was. So that's the work that I did up front. Got the seats sitting over here right now. One of the really crazy things we did yesterday, though, is in looking at how, because there's not enough wires running into the doors, I can show you on this side. I'm going to do a 3-way set in the door. And as you can see, there's only 2 places to put speakers. So what's going to happen is the door has a stock 8-inch down low and a 3.5 inch here. I'm going to end up putting a tweeter up here. So I'm going to be careful about lining these up. And I have plans that eventually, probably not during this stage, but doing some color matching so that they'll have black center grills and the silver ring around them. So eventually I'll have to do something with this middle grill, paint the center black, and then do a silver trim ring. And then the tweeters that I have a black grill, and I'll have to paint the ring of it silver to kind of match that satin that factory handle has, and that factory cap on the handle, the door pull has. But anyways, I digress. In looking at trying to get enough speaker wire into the door, this car just doesn't have a place or an easy way to do it, because it has these connectors that make it really difficult. So one of the things that we did yesterday, and we made sure that this wasn't going to be like a body man's nightmare trying to realign it, but we pulled the door off the driver's side. So right now what I've had to do is order the parts because there's no room in this factory opening, and there's no room in this factory connector to just drill out a big enough opening to run wires through for 3 speakers, which is 6 conductors, so 6 wires. After talking about it, what Jason and I figured is there are enough unused openings on this connector, and before I do this on the other side, I'm going to have to look at the other side as well, but I ordered the tools to pull the pins out of these connectors, and I'm going to move the pins to different openings so that I can condense them. Like I'm going to move like maybe this yellow-green wire over or down maybe to this corner, and do the same on the corresponding side of the connector on the door side, and that will open up a section of 4 conductors or 4 holes where I can just drill out that set of 4 connectors and run a cable that I have that has 4 connectors or conductors in it, and that'll get me 2 speakers worth of conductors. I know that's a lot of connectors, conductors, but basically it'll get me 2 speakers worth of wires into the door. And then I've got to figure out how to get 2 more conductors or 1 speaker worth of wire through another set of pins somehow. So basically it's going to be a game of pulling out a few of these wires, moving them to a corresponding, moving them somewhere to make enough room to run wires through this connector, this factory connector, because there's no room anywhere else to run wires through this door opening. Going through anywhere else around here, like outside of the connector, this is double wall steel, and it's high strength steel because it's a convertible. So it's a stressed member part of the chassis. So you can't drill through this. It would just burn up drill bits. So this is what you run into sometimes when you're doing car audio. The door is over here. And so this is what the door looks like when you kind of lay it on your bench to work on it. It makes doing the speakers a little easier, but this is the other side of the connector. And so here's that green with yellow, or yellow with green wire, that if it got moved, you know, down to the corner, like right here next to my thumbnail, it would open up again that section of 4 connectors that could be just opened up, and I could run through there a wire like this that has 4 separate wires inside of it, inside one sheath, and that could do the tweeter and the mid-range speaker. And then I also need to run another wire in for the 8-inch mid-bass into the door. So then I need to figure out, okay, what other connectors can I move in here? And then I need to make sure that when I go to plug it back in, it actually lines up with the right wiring in the car, which gets tricky. It's going to be a lot of drawing and labeling and checking and double checking, so that when I pull out a wire and put it into a different connector position, that I don't plug in like a power window wire. It doesn't hook up to like a power lock wire, so that when I go to roll the window up, the locks don't activate or something silly like that. But it's okay. I've done stuff like this before, so I'm not worried about it. It takes time, and it was a thing I wasn't looking to have happen when I started taking the car apart. So, you know, so it takes longer. But I just had to tell myself, you know, this is a hobby, not a job, and nobody's paying me for this. So I have to remember that not to get frustrated, and if it takes longer, it takes longer. And I don't have a customer to calm down who's waiting for the car to get done. That customer is me, and I don't have to calm me down because the car can stay here. It can just stay in the garage for as long as it needs to, because the van is right there and it has spent time outdoors in the winter, and I can just drive it and it's okay. So that's where it stands. And it looks like there's actually room in the back wall to get at least one subwoofer in here. There's enough room, so that means that now during my very limited daydreaming time, I can start planning that project. So who knows? I mean, the car may spend the entire winter in this garage rather than my storage unit, and the storage unit I may just end up putting all of the interior pieces into storage rather than the car itself. And the car can stay here over winter. And I have my little heater that I can use to keep the garage warm, and I can be out here working until it gets really, really cold outside. So we'll see. It was there were some curveballs thrown, and it's just going to make the project into a bigger project. So, you know, we just take the good with the bad. And while I was in here, it's time to replace this seat belt anyways, because the inertia reel in it doesn't want to return the seat belt when I get it out as far as I usually use it in. It goes limp like that. So it was time to replace the seat belt, and I have a new seat belt to put in it, so I'm going to do that while I'm here. And there are just some other random things, like my parking brake switch down there sometimes doesn't work right, and it shows like the parking brake is on all the time in the dashboard. So it's time to either clean or replace that switch. So, you know, I'm going to get a lot of things done on the car while it's in. So yeah, it's just gonna be a ton of little jobs and a couple of really big jobs. So yeah, I'm glad it's not going to happen during the summertime, because then it means that I wouldn't have been able to enjoy the car, because I got some good enjoyment out of the car this summer. So fall is a much better time for this to happen. Yay, cars. So that's what this weekend was, and I got to spend a lot of good time with my buddy Jason. So big thanks to him, and it was really, really good to spend time with him. Felt good to see a good friend who I've known for a really long time, and not talk about work, because we had some other stuff to talk about otherwise, and we've both had a really hard time at work lately, and yeah, it was good to not talk about work for a good day. Yeah, so yep, so this is what's going to be on my mind for a while, and will be in my garage, and it's just going to be a project. So yeah, fun times. All right, signing off.